So social media, if you have a social media following, that's a whole nother kit and caboodle. But this is like in person, real opportunity to engage with people. And we know in Ecclesiastes, and this is often used when people do weddings, which I've gotten the awesome honor to do multiple times, but Ecclesiastes 4:9-10 says, two are better than one because they have good reward for their toil. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow. And I love that Stephanie has engaged a team from the beginning of this. She basically was just like, I can't do this alone. This isn't a vision of me, me, me. This is a vision of we. This is a vision of women as a whole. So she is always asking questions and engaging people to come in. What is it that you're looking for? And I believe that that's one of the reasons that this community will continue to flourish, because she's not about herself. She's about discipleship. She's about friendship. She's about fellow collaborators and supporters. She's about partners. And that's where, you know, from a financial lens, people like Paul, who was one of the best and biggest and well-known disciples of all, wrote so many chapters of the New Testament. He did not flourish from finances. He flourished from partnerships. And so do not try to go after the thing that you think is the resource you need, such as money, in order to open the door or do the thing, when you could just have a really good relationship with someone. People like Timothy and Silas and Priscilla and Aquila, those people gave him money. He never went without, but he never was mentioned as rich. He sat at the table with kings, though. And I would much rather be invited into places like that, because when you get to the point of stewardship where finances and people are looking to you as someone who is quote unquote rich, the responsibility connected to that is so much higher than what you have maybe right now. The responsibility of that. And so we have to be able to understand relationships can help us be accountable to one another, and will keep us from what ultimately without it would be isolation and distrust. A risk of wealth without relationships is isolation and distrust, because now people aren't watching you. What do you do with your money in private? Matters. So all of these pieces are really connected. So I'm so glad that we shared this at the beginning, the matters of fact. It's also really aligned to the book that we alluded to, Always Becoming, at the beginning. And this next one is Risk of Wealth Without Health. Yes, it rhymes. I love it.
It does. Good job.
Risk of wealth without health. A wealthy person with poor health isn't going to do much with that wealth. They won't even have the strength to enjoy their own riches. And they surely won't have an opportunity to pour into other people, because they're going to be so focused on me. And so I believe that this secret season, or the space that you're in, God is asking us as women to raise up not only healthy children, but also our health in individuality in such a way that we can go out and be the effective stewards that we're called to be. Because the enemy is after our health. And guess how much it costs to stay healthy? It's pretty expensive. Organic food is expensive. Blood testing is expensive. Supplements are expensive. You know, having these people, health therapists, I believe this is a part of that. Therapists are expensive. Personal trainers are expensive. Gym memberships are expensive. And sometimes we can be like, no, this isn't a priority. I'm going to put these other things as a priority. And we do that, and we'll do that for a season. And then we realize that our health falls. So early last year, in a candid nature, as I'm always here to be vulnerable, I went to get my blood work done, and I went in just like this, yeah, I'm good, everything's great. And she was like, okay, I'm just gonna ask you a series of questions, and why are you here? My husband wants me to get my blood drawn because he's getting his blood drawn. He's in his 40s, and I just feel like I'm reaching there. I might as well try. And so she's like, okay, that's great. Starts asking me these questions, and her voice and tonality get lower every time. She said, oh. And I'm like, I don't really like the direction that these O's are going as you're responding. Like, you're supposed to kind of just be quiet and take notes over there. And she's like, are you seeing any sort of like connections as I'm asking these questions? Like, have you had a revelation about this? Christian practice, love them so much. And I said, you know what? I've just never had anybody ask me this series of questions all together at one time. And I think that's something with women, that we get so good at just suppressing the one thing, because it's not a huge deal that like your hair seems to be thinning. It's just like part of like age, right? Or it's not a big deal that like my face is breaking out and I'm experiencing adult acne. right? That's not a big deal. Like that sucks. God, where are you? Give me back my clean skin. It's not a huge deal that like twice a year I twinge my back to the point that I can't walk and I just have to go to the chiropractor and fix it. And then I'm aligned again. I'm good to go. It's not a really big deal that I'm having a hard time sleeping and waking up in the middle of the night. And those, this is not a big deal. I just, one by one, I add those things up, and that's not good. Like that's not something that a 38-year-old healthy person should be experiencing. And so when we put all of those things together, it was like this light bulb went off that like, Tamara, you're really managing a lot of pain, and you're doing it amazingly, but you're doing it against the will of your body. And so I would really encourage you guys to get blood work. And that's not what this is about, but I would encourage you to really engage yourself and understand, where am I physically? Where am I mentally? Where am I spiritually? And all of that came with diagnosis, and it came with supplements, and it came with me taking a break and putting my foot off the gas for a while. And life will have a way of, God will have a way of prioritizing your self-care, your rest, and your spiritual renewal. And ultimately, it's to maximize the effectiveness of your calling. And so if you don't prioritize it, and your heart is ministry and to get out there and serve and live an abundant life, even for your immediate family, you're missing out on this as an opportunity to get to know God in a way that you might not have ever had to. And for me, I never had to. This was an area where I was like, health, I got that. Body consciousness, I got that. But it had been thwarted and twisted that healthy looks like this, when really it didn't. So we know this based on Daniel 1:8-16. Daniel and his friends thrived because they prioritized a healthy living. They continued to fast. They continued to eat well, even when it was taken away from them. Also, we know the story of Job and what that can do. And so really just understanding that there is a risk of health or wealth without health. All right, 3 more. How are we doing? We doing okay on time? I'm not looking at any of that.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
All
I've
right.
got questions, but I'm gonna let you finish.
Okay. All right. The next 2 is the risk of wealth without time. This is, I think, one of the most sweetest treasures that the Lord has given us. And we constantly feel like we don't have enough of it. This is the greatest non-renewable resource. It's non-renewable. I cannot get yesterday back. I cannot get this time with you guys back. And so when I sit with the Lord and I think about that blank day when I have nothing left to give because yesterday was exhausting, and he's like, today I want to give you time back in your schedule. This morning I had my daughter's dentist appointment cancel at 7:30, and I was like, praise God. That's the best thing when something falls off your schedule. It's the best, actually, so much so Stephanie even gifted me back time last December when she was just like, I feel like the Lord just wants you to have space. And it was such a gift. So Ephesians 5:16 says, making the best use of time because the days are evil.
I am gonna chime in here because this is a verse that I use a lot when I teach boundaries.
Yes.
And that's why I opened up today saying we're gonna talk about money, but like it's not all about money and it's not just a how-to. And I think that this goes back to like, what are you for and what do you want in first? Because the days are evil and they will suck the life out of you if you don't know what you want first and you don't prioritize.
So good.